The Alliance is lodging a complaint against Cooperative Governance Minister Nkosazana Dlamimi-Zuma for allegedly misleading the public on the tobacco sales ban. Government has been involved in a number of U-turns on the issue of when cigarettes will go on sale. DA claims Dlamini-Zuma told the public that there were over 2,000 submissions on the tobacco ban, when in fact the number was far lower. Let's discuss this further now. Joining us is Chief Whip of the DA, Natasha Mazzone. Natasha, good evening and thank you for your time. Why is the COGTA Minister facing a ethics complaint?
Well, you know, we have a duty as members of parliament and certainly as ministers to give the public the correct and proper information. Now, Dr. Dlamini-Zuma not only in a public briefing cited a number to be 2,000 in terms of the amount of submissions she received in support of the ban, but also in a parliamentary briefing she cited the number to be over 2,000 submissions that she'd received. Now, in court documents that the minister filed herself in response to the court challenge by the Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association, she herself revealed that she'd received only 1,535 submissions. Of that, 47.2% had absolutely nothing to do with smoking, 23.3% were in favor of smoking, and only 29.6% supported the ban. Now, if you turn that 29.6% into figures, in terms of the 1,535, that means only 454 people supported the ban against smoking.
Well, whether 2,000, 1,534, the fact that remains now is that the President has come out and said all of Cabinet supported that decision. Why go after just the Minister of COGTA?
Well, she's in charge of the regulations and she's the person who uttered the figures of 2,000. Now, if you think back to what happened with Minister Lynn Brown, Minister Lynn Brown also misled the public and misled Parliament in an answer to a parliamentary question regarding Eskom. And it was then that Parliament showed exactly what happens and how a minister is held to account if you mislead the public. So perhaps the President is correct that his Cabinet agreed with the ban, but then the minister should have been very clear to say that those submissions that she received included cabinet ministers, and then maybe she could have increased that by about 83, but certainly not given the figures of 2,000 as she did to the public.
Is this another strategy, I suppose, in the DA's support of the lifting of the ban on the sale of cigarettes?
This is no strategy other than to make sure that people tell the truth. In government already we have people having a mistrust in government and a mistrust in Parliament. And certainly when ministers continue to mislead the public, they do nothing to help promote Parliament and certainly promote trust in government. So there's nothing going on here except the simple want of the truth being told to the public, and certainly a minister telling the public the truth when it involves millions of South Africans and certainly billions of rands in the economy.
As a parliamentarian, and I'm sure this has been canvassed in Parliament quite at large, the whole idea of the duty to care for the health system of this country. Now, the Human Sciences Research Council indicates 88% of smokers were not able to buy cigarettes during lockdown level 5, suggesting that the temporary ban was actually effective in reducing access to cigarettes. What's your take?
Well, I haven't seen enough of the facts. I'm not a doctor and I'm certainly no medical expert. So unlike Dr. Dlamini-Zuma, I'm not going to make a comment on something that I'm not 100% sure of. But what I will say is this: the ban at the moment, the way it's put in place, is illogical and certainly hinders on people's rights. Today we heard a court ruling that saw level 4 and 5 regulations, the constitutionality of those regulations being brought into account. And I can tell you that the black market of cigarettes is booming. It's frightening to see how this black market is booming. And if we were ever worried about people, as Dlamini-Zuma herself said, when you zol, you put saliva on the paper. Well, you also put saliva on the paper when you share the cigarette. And if ever we should be worried about the virus spreading, it's now because of people being forced to share cigarettes.
What's your reaction to the High Court ruling that level 4, level 3 regulations were unconstitutional?
Well, one has to look at the ruling itself. I think this is the first of many rulings of its kind that is going to come out. These regulations have not been correctly thought through. They have been very haphazard in their application, and certainly their explanation has left a lot to be desired. I think we required the President to be communicating a lot more with the people than we saw, and certainly the ministers made a great big hash-up of explaining the various levels and the various regulations. There are many court cases before the courts at the moment regarding these regulations, and I think today is simply step one in showing that these regulations were not constitutionally mandated and certainly not correctly thought through.
Dear Chief Whip Natasha Mazzone, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us tonight. The legal battle to have the